Good afternoon. Welcome back to another Straight Talk with All Pest Solutions, where we're coming live to you today in North Texas on the job site. My name is Wendell Daniel, founder and CEO of All Pest Solutions. My son, Jacob Daniel, Chief of Operations. And like I said, we're coming to you today to pick back up where we left off last month with talking to you about Centricon, and today to show you kind of how it unfolds. So how you want to break this down today?
Well, I mean, last month we kind of ended talking about Centricon and the benefits and, you know, very little cons that come with the system itself, the tangibility, the control, and it's the kind of the overall. We started with a little bit of the process, but, you know, we're just trying to actually show it put in, installed, how it works, what it looks like, all those good things.
Yeah, we're going to give you a little bit of history today, and then we're going to actually literally show you the whole process of the install, and just walk you through that process so you have a better understanding of what that looks like. But so, you know, if we just kind of go back and kind of recap a little bit of history. So, you know, we treated structures the same way literally for almost 100 years with conventional liquids. And, you know, the mid-80s, chlordane was outlawed. Everything changed when it came to liquid at that point. And so the industry was just advancing, trying to look for different ways to do things. And so this is where Centricon, which is made by Corteva, which is Dow AgriScience as well, was invented by Dr. Nanyao Su, University of Florida, on a Dow grant, looking for a different way to treat for termites. And so we wanted to get away from liquid at that point, and he was the pioneer of the baiting systems. And so just with field research, trying to figure out the biology of termites, how they work, what they do, you know, Centricon was born. You know, interesting fun fact, if you go back and look at, you know, royalties at University of Florida, you know, there's two major ones. You know, most everybody would probably guess the first one, and that's Gatorade, but the number two is Centricon. And so it is a phenomenal product. Your house, my house, the White House, or today we're at a 27 building multifamily complex in North Texas. It doesn't matter. It works the same no matter where it's at. You know, it's around Statue of Liberty as well. So,
Yep.
What do you want to add to that?
Well, you know, back in the day, and in our heyday, I guess, for Termidors, what we were using then, so we're still using it now. You know, that was kind of superior in that nature, right? So Centricon started out as a kind of a reactive based product, right? It went with cardboard and wood stakes in the station. Once you got a hit on the station, then they put in the treatment. So the two big companies there were neck and neck trying to figure out the best control. And then now that Centricon is kind of in that top dog range, everything's coming with a proactive treatment versus reactive. But we still use liquid termiticide to this day. We're still using Termidor. We were actually out here yesterday. We had 4 active spots. We went in with liquid first, and now we're back here to do the long-term plan with Centricon.
No doubt that, you know, Centricon is a standalone system, but as a company, we just choose when we got active termites on the structure, yep, we want to stop it immediately so we don't have any additional damage until the system can kick in and start working.
Sure.
You know, another cool thing I think is, so when Centricon started, like Jacob said, you know, it was a monthly process. Now it's an annual process.
Yep.
But the bigger piece of that is it started with wood. Once you got a hit of active termites, then you converted to a base station. Today, it's an always active system. Literally, as we put it in the ground today,
it's ready
to go.
Yep.
You know, and so like we showed you last month, I mean, this is a station. This is the always active. That's a cellulose-based product with the active ingredient, which is Novaflumaron. You know, and they're an advancement as well. You know, it started as Hex and then ended up Nova. That's just 9 molecules versus what, 6, I guess, would be Hex. Mm-hmm. Just a better product. You know, the active ingredient in this will kill what? 2, is it?
So there's 150 grams of Novaflumaron in each one of those. That's enough to kill 2.5 colonies per station. The average is placed every 8 to 10 feet, not to exceed 20. No matter what structure we put it on, it's the same kind of blanket around the exterior.
Yeah, we just circle the buildings. It doesn't matter how big. You just walk it off. We're real strategic about our station placement. You'll see that today as we go live on the actual installation and those step processes of how we place. We don't be in the drip line. We won't be outside of that drip line most of the cases. Sometimes inside. and just literally just kind of circle the wagons. And you know, termites do what they do. They forage, they're blind, and cannot see. And they work through the earth and find sources of food that you know, put all their eggs in one basket. They just they gather, you know, from every food source possible. So just by doing, you know, people think, well, does that attract termites? No, it does not. Termites are here.
That's cool. Yeah.
You know, they do what they do by putting this around. It's a numbers game. They're going to find them. It's not if, it's when, because it's a 1-to-1 ratio in North Texas. Every structure is going to come under attack. So, you know, whether it's preventative going in or we're here today in a curative situation, it works the same. And, you know.
Well, I think it's important to add too, like, you know, Texas A&M classified that we can have up to 12 colonies per acre. So they're not intercommunicative. They're not going to intersocialize. All of those colonies are separate entities feeding on either same material or new. During the swarm, which is happening this time of year, that's all that is making more colonies. Now, we've seen that in much greater force. So I think we confirmed over 50 colonies at a different residence in Farmersville. So the point is that the more product you can put in the ground, the more control that we have for an unknown amount of enemy that's around every structure all the time.
Cool fun fact about that as well, you know, Dow and Centricon has been around since the mid-90s. One of the largest consumptions, hits in their history. You know, we are proud to say we controlled, you know, under us. And that's another point as well is, you know, Dow's very picky, and I'm glad they are. They only partner with about 3% of the pest control companies in America. We're proud to be one of those 3%.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, as good a system as it is, it's only as good as the integrity of the company, and even more so down all the way to the technician checking it. You got to manage the system.
Well, and I think it's important to notate too that this is a tangible system, right? So as long as the system's in the ground, it's being maintained, it's got bait in it, you're actively working it, but you can see all of those steps happening. When you go the conventional liquid side, you put that product in the ground and it's there, and you got to trust that it's there, and then hope it's going to do what it's supposed to do. Now, we've got 20 years of data showing that works great, you know, but at the end of the day, you can't touch it, you can't ride it, you can't drive it. It's just hope it's there. But this stuff, I mean, you can see it go in the ground. We can crack that lid. We can find them, pull it out, and you can see the control. That house in Farmersville, we literally could, we took pictures, we took video, we showed those, we replaced those, 19 stations in the first 6 months. And then we had a control in a year. And then even then, with the amount of termites that are around there, just like here, we're going to find that we're going to have termites in random locations. It's going to start to work its way, just like over time, like fine wine. The longer it's here, the better it works. We'll start to get more hits and more control.
We will,
term.
you know, and the bad thing about any liquid termiticide or conventional application is the hourglass turns over the day you put it in. And so time is your enemy, and it's going to wear out. It's not if, it's when. And photo degradation, which is sunlight and rainfall and erosion, all those kind of things affect the liquid. This, it doesn't matter. It don't matter what's going on. It's going to ride. It's going to work. You don't have to start over. You just put it in the ground, and it's a peace of mind. You manage it, you stay with a good company, and you just work the process and protect your investment.
Yep.
It's real simple.
And you can see, just like in the last podcast when we had the glass of termites from the Recruit HD, that came from the City of Wiley building. You know, we literally can take that out and go show the consumer, whoever that may be. Hey, we've got hits on station 23. This is looking great. We're getting control. Next visit, that'll be dormant and it'll be dead. Because it does take about 90 days to kill off a colony as they start to consume this.
I think it's important too to tell a consumer that, you know, and this is a big question. We just live in a world where toxicity and things are a big point of interest for the consumer.
Yes.
And so, you know, the cool thing about the active ingredient, Recruit HD, Novaflumaron, is that, you know, it's a molting, doesn't allow termites to molt. And so if you've ever seen, say, a locust where he has had an out-of-body experience, come out of his shell, grow to be a bigger locust, this is how this works. So, you know, they gather, they carry it back to the colony, they buffet style eat together, and it transfers through all the termites in the colony, and it just doesn't allow the termites to molt. Well, how does it gain colony elimination? Well, you know, Mama Queen's sitting up there and somebody feeds her. And so if all those workers begin to not be able to molt and continue to grow and they die off, then there's nobody to feed her, then you gain colony elimination. She don't have no more.
Yep.
End of story. But the cool thing about it is that we as humans, dogs, warm-blooded mammals, all those kinds of things, we don't have an exoskeleton. We have bone structure, so we don't molt.
Yep.
You know, hey, I have a lab. Son has labs. I mean, they dig. They do what dogs do. We have dogs dig these up. We have dogs come in the house chewing on them. It don't affect the dog. He don't molt. No harm, no foul.
Well, and I think it's important to notate that this property that we're working on is a dog-friendly location.
Yeah.
So, and that's a big reason why we're using that here over other liquid chemicals.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now basically is we're going to kind of cut, and we're going to pick back up here in a few where we're going live in the installation, kind of give you a step-by-step process, and then we'll close out and we'll pick it up from there.
So obviously we're here today to talk about the install and the setup and the procedures of how Centricon works. So of course, in our industry, in order to build the plan that's best fit and or target specific, so here we are, of course, focusing on termites, I've got to confirm, or we've got to confirm that that we have what we need to be able to make that identification. So at this place, we've already spent a collective of 5 days here, from inspection to building the plan to now install day. Every one of these, whether we're doing residential or commercial, whatever it is, we will turn a wheel to identify the issue, find those issues, and then inspect the rest of the property. And then from there, we will target the buildings that need to be protected, draw them, map them, lay them out, and then prepare for what we need to install. So we're using 60 cases worth of Centricon stations here. We're going to start laying stations. Now, a residential house, we're usually going to number them, however many stations that is. If that's a 250 linear house, you're looking at 25 to 30 stations. We'll mark those just so we can identify those things in the future when we do our annual renewal and inspection. And then we can also label out if we got hits on certain numbers, tell the homeowner, etc. But here, we're going to place stations every 8 to 10 feet. These things are going to be 12 to 15 inches deep, so we're going to probe that to make sure we don't hit sprinkler lines or don't have obstructions, and then install the station, and then label them and show them so that we're TDA, EPA compliant. And then also we'll use that later on down the road. But that's kind of the process around every building. Lay them out, position them, probe them, drill them, put them in the ground, and then map them. So since we just finished talking about how the install process works, we're going to just take a quick minute and talk about how the renewal and yearly inspections happen after the fact. Now, in extreme cases, we may come sooner than a year, but most houses, commercial and residential, or most places, we're going to do an annual renewal. What that looks like from us is that once this system goes in the ground, it's going to be registered with Dow. All of the stations that we use, how we'll be charged from them. They track us, we track it, and then work with you. You'll get a letter in the mail from us that says, hey, it's time for your annual renewal and inspection, and then naturally we'll schedule and come inspect. And at that point, what our techs will end up doing is that all of these stations have a RFID chip in the lid, right? So here, which I don't know if you can see that, there's a little barcode in there. That chip's in here. We have a series of detectors bought from Dow specific for this process. We'll locate all of the stations. So over the year, you can have grass and dirt and mulch and all kinds of things that have grown over the top of that station. We use the graph that we use to lay them out and find them. The boys will open them, check them. If they've been consumed, we'll replace them. And if they're active on them, we will leave them so it will work its process. But that's done every year on a renewal style basis. Now, these come with 25-year renewals, 25-year warranties, but you got to pay to play or pay to keep it. But they'll do that every year, check them and rotate them and show you what we find. You'll get documentation on all those things, and then we'll see you again next year.
I think it's important to mention to the consumer as well that once we put that in the ground, you become a partner with us. I hate using the word contract because I hate contracts, but the state does say we have to put it in writing and do some things, but it's more about a relationship. If that house comes under attack, we're back. One of the things that happens in North Texas a lot, you get foundation work, you have to move stations, things have to be done. It's a relationship. We'll come back and add stations, move stations, do whatever we got to do, because we're in a long-term relationship. Termites, by some chance, make an attack on a house, we'll do an application with liquid or foam, get them off the house. It is a relationship long-term that we're building here to protect your largest investment.
Sure.
We hope you appreciated our video today, and hope you found it informational. We'll come back and see you next month. Appreciate you joining us for another Straight Talk with All Pest Solutions. We'll see you next month.